A question I get from time to time is, what kind of paint should I use for my KU band satellite dish? So today I'd like to talk to you about painting your KU band satellite dish to keep it looking and functioning like new. First and most importantly, you want to use a spray paint to paint your dish. That's going to give you a nice, even, smooth surface. Using a brush tends to create drips, runs, and sags. Not to mention the bristles of the brush will leave tiny grooves or ridges all over the dish. That creates an uneven surface that can actually scatter or refract the signal instead of directing it into the LNB where it's supposed to go. Speaking of the LNB, that's this part of the dish right here and right here. You want to make sure that you don't get any paint on the LNB, especially on this part of the LNB right here, this part that faces the dish, because any paint on that will actually block the signal from getting into your LNB, and that's going to be not good for your system. That's going to degrade the signal badly. The spray paint that you're using should be something with a flat or matte finish. You don't want to use glossy paint because, again, glossy paint can actually work against you by refracting the signal or scattering it every which way except into the LNB. So always go with a flat or matte finish. You can see that all of these dishes have a very dull finish on them, and that's really what you want with the satellite dish. You don't want a shiny finish because that will be bad for your signal. Another reason to avoid using glossy paint on your satellite dish is that the glossy surface can actually reflect an intense beam of sunlight directly into the LNB and possibly cook it. Now, interestingly enough, not all KU band satellite dishes are made of metal. This dish over here is fiberglass. This one is metal. On a metal dish, if you're getting any rust on it, you want to take the time and sand that away before you paint it. I'd recommend using sandpaper to carefully sand the rust away. I would not use a grinder or wire wheel. That is too aggressive, too abrasive, and you might end up taking away some of the metal or even warping the parabolic shape of the dish, which can in turn degrade your signal. I find this gray primer spray paint works really well. The brand isn't really important. It's whatever's available at your local hardware store. Try to stick with a reputable brand though. It sprays on nice and even, and it's got good adhesion, and it dries quick as well. The finish is nice and flat, so you're not going to have any glossy refraction problems. It doesn't bother the signal at all, in fact. You can see some of it right here in the middle of this dish. I just sprayed this to cover up the logo. So it's a little darker than the factory gray color, but if you're going to paint the entire dish, then that's not going to matter anyways. Just make sure that you spray this stuff outside and follow the manufacturer's instructions on the side of the can.